So, good morning. I'm Marty Downs. I manage the network office for the Long-Term Ecological Research Network. I'm going to present on the strategic plan today for about half of our time, I hope, and then we'll have a little bit of time for folks to get together and talk about their thoughts on where they might contribute to the direction of the strategic plan and what the next steps are, and have a little bit of reflection and feedback. Um, I am just going to share my screen and we can get going. The plan has, there we go. Plan's been developed with quite a lot of input from across the community. It's taken us 18 months almost, and all of the committees, several iterations of the Science Council and the Executive Board, as well as a meeting that involved many of our external partners, have gone into developing the plan. When the network was first established with 6 sites in 1980, they were established as individual sites, and it was unclear how the network would develop out of that. But over the past 45 years, network has grown to its current size of 26 sites, and both the individual sites and the network as a whole have really been critically important in building the science of ecology. LTERs have been instrumental in deciphering the connections between past, present, and future conditions. So the effect of legacies such as land use, information legacies like seed banks, lasting impacts of housing policy coming out of some of the urban sites, and many, many kinds of disturbance. Experiments at Cedar Creek and other LTERs have found that ecosystems with more diversity were more productive and retentive of nutrients, had more stable productivity. So that relationship between biodiversity and productivity, ecosystem functioning, has been a critical outcome of the of LTERs and other follow-on experiments. And many other experiments that simultaneously address a variety of drivers, such as top-down and bottom-up impacts, nutrients and climate change and development, and on and on. The network's intense focus on ecological mechanisms and collaborative research have really shaped expectations for the field. For how we do science and how we train scientists. But today we are have entered, we could say at this point, a new era. Technology is moving really fast. AI and machine learning are everywhere. And society's need for science to really deliver on its promised benefits is even more intense than ever. To continue doing what we do well, we need to clarify what our priorities are. So we embarked on developing a strategic plan starting in spring of 2024. Little did we know at that time how much the world of science would change over the next 2 years. No strategic planning process would be complete without examining the mission statement. We've updated ours. The spirit is not that much different from the old mission statement, which I will remind people was to provide the scientific community, policymakers, and society with the knowledge and predictive understanding necessary to conserve, protect, and manage the nation's ecosystems, their biodiversity, and the services they provide. But we've streamlined the language a bit and made it very clear that our focus is research and learning, and that we aim to partner with other users to employ our research in the service of solutions. So LTER sites, as opposed to the LTER network, I suppose, are They are many things to many different people. And they are, while the LTER funding defines which sites are LTER sites, they leverage a lot of other sources of funding. And so they have a lot of things going on. To researchers, they are research platforms where all sorts of investigators come together to leverage the long-term records that the sites develop. They're especially, I think, loci for collaboration and for developing new ideas, depending on those long-term records. For STEM professionals, both researchers and information managers and technicians and educators, they are sites of hands-on interdisciplinary training, particularly for grad students and undergrads, but really cross-disciplinary collegial learning for everyone, for the PIs, for IMs, for lots of folks. For land and water managers, they are really knowledgeable. There we go. For land and water managers, they're knowledgeable partners sharing the most current research and seeking out important challenges together, and often involving practitioners directly in the research that the network does. And for educators, they provide access to authentic scientific discovery for schools and communities by offering field lab and data-focused experiences for K through 12 teachers and their students, as well as many hands-on research experiences for undergrad, grad, and post-bac students. Critical to the success of LTER sites in this area is their flexibility to pursue new areas of inquiry as they arise. LTER has six core research areas that sort of generally help to align the scope of LTER research. But LTER is a bottom-up network. We don't, and we probably never will dictate what sites should measure or how to measure it. And maintaining that flexibility and independence was really a critical element of developing the strategic plan. So when we started the process, we decided that what we needed was not a plan for sites or even a plan for the network office, but a plan for what the network would be. What would we be together? What did we value the most? So we started by eliciting contributions about what the LTER network community thought were the factors that were kind of most essentially LTER. What was essential to our identity and what was different from other networks. And really three factors emerged at the top of that list. Our scope across a variety of ecosystems. We are not just terrestrial, we are not just marine, we are forests, mountains, tundra, coastal and marine systems, and that is unusual across networks. The range of disciplines that we incorporate is also a pretty important factor in who we are, in our identity. But maybe the most critical element, and depends a bit on those other two, is our focus on ecological mechanisms. We collect data, we collect lots and lots of data, and we make it publicly available. But our goal in collecting it isn't just to produce and provide the data, it's to use the data to inform our understanding of the world. And the depth of our data and of our direct experience in these systems really provides the context that helps us interpret what we find and develop new questions so that our studies are always changing. So building on those essential LTER qualities, we asked, what are the overarching research questions that need those strengths? And two major scientific threads emerged out of, as I've said, many conversations. Strategic priority one focuses on our ability to compare mechanisms across sites. An ocean site is not the same as a forest site. We can't measure, for instance, the CO2 uptake in the same way or compare the results directly. But what we can do is ask how these systems function similarly, or in what ways the local contexts change how they function in ways that are predictable. Strategy 2 continues down that road, capitalizing on the experiments and the mechanistic research conducted at LTERs to project what we know about mechanisms onto conditions that don't yet exist anywhere outside of experimental systems. To apply LTER research beyond the specific places where it's conducted, we need to know which of those mechanisms are universal and how the local context affects their operations. So a basic example of this is the impact of drought depends on state variables such as soil properties and vegetation, and those are sort of recorded on a pretty large scale. But it also depends on the frequency of past shocks and the state of the biological community and the potential for replacement of key functional groups. And the depth of knowledge that LTERs have is critical in understanding how those more local context factors affect outcomes. So comparing experimental responses across sites really makes it feasible to parse the moderating effects of those kinds of factors. Focusing on priority 2 and looking forward in time, we expect to see combinations of environmental conditions that really have not been experienced in modern times. I hesitate to use the no analog language because it's, certainly combinations have existed in the past, but not in the times that we have been around to record what the results of them are. So research that's based only on our existing conditions, that looks at patterns across existing environmental states is going to fall short in those cases in being able to predict what the outcomes will be. And the experiments and mechanistic research that's conducted at LTERs are really specifically designed to identify and test combinations of drivers that do not yet exist. The experiment that's shown here, which is at Bonanza Creek LTER, for instance, combines effects of permafrost thaw, water level, and nutrients. And at many other sites, there are many other combinations of conditions that we work with, really focusing on those that are most relevant for the particular site. So what are the network level activities that we think will support those first two priorities? I'm not going to try and lay out all the activities that we included in the plan. There are quite a few, and you can find the whole plan at lternet.edu/strategic plan. But there are a few major objectives that we focused on for synthesis, which we think is really a critical network function. We want to continue post-hoc synthesis. We want to really redouble our efforts at capturing the particular challenges that synthesizers find when they try and pull LTER data together, so that we can improve the way we collect and present our data to be as synthesizable as possible. And we are starting to pilot AI in synthesis to figure out in what ways it can contribute and in what ways it can, and where we have to be more cautious. Cross-site studies are another area. This is something that has been highly effective in the past, and we want to sort of surface some of the studies that have been conducted in a cross-site way in the past, and including things that have spun off very successful external projects like NewtNet and DroughtNet, as well as those that have been primarily internal. And then based on those and on some of the activities that I'll get to later, we want to develop some new cross-site approaches and seek funding for those. They are not covered under core LTER funding, but we do think they are potentially immensely valuable in driving the really innovative science that could come out of the network. In terms of methods, LTER individual sites are huge innovators in scientific methods. But one of the things we think could be improved at the network level is the sort of more rapid exchange of new methods and sort of more quickly reaching some sort of standardization around developing new methods, so that we don't have a dozen sites each developing their own approach before they've had a chance to kind of get to some alignment. And then finally, in terms of anticipating responses to novel conditions, we'd like to identify some potentially general combinations of drivers and responses that we would like to test across sites. That sort of connects with the cross-site experiments, and a research framework that incorporates the mechanistic understanding, but also allows for surprises and dramatic changes, such as new species and evolutionary impacts. And then generally just more thorough documentation of site histories and physical artifacts, so that we are clearer both for ourselves and for others about where we came from. All right. So this leads us to priorities 3 and 4. This is a really ambitious set of research priorities, and we won't be able to carry it out on our own. It takes both a deep bench of researchers and partners to put that research into practice. Priority 3 focuses on building our engagement with the organizations and people who are in a position to put LTER science to use. And priority 4 reiterates the importance of the network. And this is really, this emerged in our conversations with various parts of the network as a pretty essential quality of what the network is. In building scientific careers, whether that's inspiring teachers and their students to consider careers in science, or to just get a little experience with data, to the kind of interdisciplinary training that we offer grad and undergrad students, and to the collegial learning that happens across sites and among investigators, information managers, educators, and postdocs in the network. So many sites have really strong relationships with local management partners. Others are sort of more in the process of developing those, or have focused more on education in the past. Priority 3 focuses on establishing and nurturing network-level relationships that will really expand the reach and impact of network-level science that's envisioned in priorities 1 and 2. And this includes deliberate outreach to national partners to find points of alignment and mutual interest, clarifying exactly how an organization might develop a collaboration with the network. That was it was a point that I think we was really surfaced for us by our meeting with partners. They didn't see how we wanted to work with them, and so that's an important new element. and expanding activities that were begun under the Appeal Research Practice Partnership to really build sites' capacities to partner locally and regionally. For priority 4, which is really about building careers and cultivating a trajectory. In terms of education, we are especially effective when we partner with teachers to give them teachers and their students, to give them authentic scientific experiences and give them a chance to work with real data and help them to bring that to their students, as well as the sort of hands-on opportunities that we offer to undergraduate students. So some of the thinking around education is to prioritize those kinds of network level activities and support for those activities at the network level. For emerging scientists, undergraduate, graduate students, many of the partnerships that we've focused on supporting under priority 3 also offer really appealing career paths. And so we want to build more well-traveled paths between academic, nonprofit, and private sector environmental science. And we think this will benefit both our students and our science. And for career scientists at all levels, we continue to offer opportunities for peer learning and leadership development and embracing leadership opportunities. So as we developed the plan, conditions in the world were changing. We might in another time have attached actual proposed dates and timelines to activities under the plan. But with little certainty about funding and larger scientific landscape, we didn't try and approach it that way. Instead, we assigned each of the activities to one of 4 categories. One set of activities really has to be started now, and some of them are already underway and have been for some time. Others don't make any sense to start until the groundwork's been laid, so those are categorized as just due next. And a 4th category of activity really can't be supported under the current funding model until we can find more funds to support those activities. So we tried to envision how those categories of activities connect and interact. This is not a plan that we expect to write and just sit on the shelf for the next 5 years and come back to. Every activity has been identified both with a priority level and also an identified lead. The executive board and the LNO together will review the plan every year and update it with what things, do we have a program for what things have been, I hesitate to say accomplished, but where have we made significant progress and where do we need or want to revise our priorities based on what has been accomplished, how that's gone, and what's happening in the world. We also see it as a roadmap for prioritizing our work on funding opportunities and collaborations that we want to pursue at the network level. So what does that mean for how you, as members or partners of the network, might want to be involved? This is an ambitious set of activities, and the network office, especially now, has a tiny staff. We can be a catalyst and a facilitator, but it is the LTER community that is going to have to be the driver for this. For individuals, read the plan, sign up for the newsletter, learn about events and activities, share your ideas, whether you're able to take leadership on them yourself or not, but also we encourage you to take leadership. This is a bottom-up network, and that's participation is the only way it's going to work. The network office and the executive board can really help to connect, support, reflect on, and amplify your efforts. So do share them. For partner organizations, we'll be reaching out directly to many of you over the next 6 months or so, but you don't need to wait for us to come to you. If you have thoughts about a shared project, a need, common interests, efficiencies that we might gain, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are loosely structured, but very flexible and responsive. And this is all going to take resources. We encourage everyone to share opportunities where you can see the alignment with priorities and to consider reframing local projects in a broader context if you think that that being engaged with the network could amplify the impact of a project that you're, thinking about, spinning up, considering. And overall, the network remains highly effective and connected across a really wide range of ecosystems. We are innovative, continuously developing new measurement approaches and validating them against our long-term records, and a really highly efficient program. We serve as research platforms, connecting many opportunities for piggybacked projects. And we know that LTER funding in general is leveraged about 3 to 1 with other funding sources. We believe this plan helps us prioritize the science that is the best fit for our strengths and prepares us to move forward with confidence in this new era. We look forward to working with you, whether you're already part of the LTER community or a potential partner. And I am gonna stop sharing and welcome questions on that. And also want to introduce Evelyn Geiser, who joined us a few minutes after we started. Evelyn is the chair of the LTER Executive Board and Science Council. So open the floor for questions or thoughts. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, team. Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
I also joined late. Apologies.
Welcome. Carrie helped facilitate the meeting with partners, which was an amazing experience just about a year ago in Santa Barbara. So open it up for folks.
Marty, I'm really excited to see how far this has come and to see the vision really crystallized. I'm wondering what kind of feedback, if any, you've gotten from NSF on the strategic plan.
Very good question, and really none at all so far. It has been shared with them. I think they have not been in a position to offer anything useful for a while.
Understood.
Yeah. We are looking forward to talking with them about it. The LNO meets with them regularly. I think maybe more than anything, that last point about the plan being a roadmap for talking with funders and other funders besides NSF is an important one. I think it is clear that we need to diversify our base on that front. Evelyn, maybe did you have anything to add?
Well, just a huge thanks to you, Marty, for shepherding a large community of collaborators through this process of making a plan. There were so many different ideas and so much information that we collected that needed to be coalesced and and brought together in a way that you just heard about and you can read about. And so thank you so much. That took a lot of coordination, and we're so lucky to have you in that role and the network office shepherding us along as we execute the plan as well. I did want to just add that, and this is just reiterating, but this is meant, the plan is meant to inspire. It's meant to take us beyond our site-based research, and of course we've been doing tons of that network science already, but how wonderful to have some ideas written down that did take all that many different voices and many conversations to sort of focus, and now those are written down in a way that I think really appreciates the kinds of tools that are now available to us to not only harness, but really kind of push the envelopes of why there was a very large conversation about how we need to get in front of AI by showing the world how it can be healthfully used in ecology. Let's get in front of that, not be dragged along with it, or, because that will happen if we don't step out. And so we have some ideas of how we can. And again, those priorities are meant to be giving us more strategic guidance as we do launch into what we always are going to be doing as ecologists, which is looking for ways in which we can make sense of our ecosystems in that much larger context. So I just really hope that everybody does turn to the plan periodically when you are thinking about the big ideas that you want to push forward, and that you talk with your colleagues who may currently be sort of outside the LTER network, who may be working with long-term data, who may be interested in long-term data from perhaps other sites like biological stations and so forth. We definitely did not intend for this plan to be solely driven or populated by LTER only data sets. And so let's bring those other partners in as the big partnership pillar is suggesting that we do. And in so doing, maybe hopefully open up new avenues for funding. So, I think a lot of LTER synthesis has been mentioned, has been, directed by the energies and enthusiasm of our scientists. And of course, we do have the network office support for some level of synthesis, but there's a lot that goes on anyway. And I think this plan offers us some opportunity for strategically working with partners in ways that leverage additional, perhaps non-NSF funding sources in novel and new ways. So, particularly that third priority of resilience-oriented science. And that's a relatively new priority for LTER to go, yeah, this is really what we want to do. It's going to necessitate those partnerships. And I do think right now we really need those partnerships, not only to execute that science, but to offer windows into additional sources of funding for the science that we do that's more necessary, unfortunately, than ever. So use the plan. We, as Marty said, are going to be revisiting it as we go along to make sure that we're progressing along. And just don't forget about it as you're talking with those potential partners and folks that may not be as connected right now with the network, and use it as a way to bring them into the fold and to open up new avenues and sources of information as well toward synthesis.
Thanks, Evelyn.